what we are talking about today is something that just feels really important for me to share. So welcome to this live stream. It's more about me. Hey, Kelsey. Awesome. No, I'm kind of kidding, but I'm kind of not. But this feels really important for me to share with y'all because I feel like it's a thing that doesn't get shared quite enough. And so it was really important to me coming back to work and starting up again and all of that to really make sure that I was as transparent about this as I possibly could be. And so that is kind of what we're going to do today. This just feels like an how do I say that? An in integrity conversation to have, and feels like something I want to have more often, which is just kind of a level set around this. So what I really want to share with you guys today is about how much support I have to make all of this happen. So I want to talk about that in business. I want to talk about that in life. I want to talk about when you should be investing in business support versus life support, when you should be investing in coaching support versus done for you support. And I really just want to talk about the real reality behind what looks like we are doing it all on the front end versus what's actually getting done on the back end. And it just feels so important to say that because I think that, we're so quick to compare ourselves to other people in our space, other moms, right? And I really just always want to kind of be the one that's shouting from the rooftops, like that I do not do it all, that I never will, that I would not be someone who is good at doing it all. And I want to really share with you like the specifics of what that looks like. Because, one of the I don't know if I want to say benefit, but I guess I'll say it. One of the benefits of when I had Bennett is that I already had a lot of support in place and this business in place. And I think it's just important to acknowledge that that's different, right? I think that, a lot of people, if they've already had the business and then have kids, it can feel like, cool, well, like, look, this is how you do a business with a kid. And like, yes, that's true. And we don't want to take anything away from anybody that's built something successful and then chooses to have a family. But at the same time, I do think that we have to recognize that there might be differences there, and that they might be coming with a level of support that maybe someone that's new starting out in business doesn't have built in. And I think unless we really have that conversation, that's not getting made clear in a lot of the marketing that is out there. I think it makes a lot of people feel super shitty. And so we're going to talk about all that today. Hi guys. Hello, Lucy. Oh, so cool. Steph is in Thailand. Oh my God, that's amazing. So cool. Did I change my background? No, I didn't, but I changed this guy. This is a willow, something willow. I can't remember, but I really like it. And it's got like little fuzzy things on it, but I used to have a little sign here. So that's probably what you're thinking, which I'm sure I will trade it out for at some point because I really liked that sign too. But remember the sign used to say, what you focus on expands. That was a goodie. So I kind of missed that one, but she's here for now and we're going to hang out with her until she dies. But apparently they're very easy to keep alive. So fingers crossed. Jordan said, so glad to be here for this conversation. I've had 3 girls along my entrepreneurial journey, and I'm always so grateful to hear anything around this. So good. Yes. Awesome. Hey, Julianne. So good. Okay. So, oh my God, Jordan, that is the word I'm missing. It is called a pussy willow. I was like, it's something willow, but why can't I think of it? That's hysterical. It also took me a minute when I read your comment. I'm like, the word I'm missing is pussy. What does she mean? Oh, yes, this is what she means. Michelle's loving this combo topic. Sarah Wiles touches on this with motherhood a lot, which I always appreciate, and how sometimes it means our business might grow slower if we dedicate less time to them, and that's okay, 100%. Sarah's so good at being transparent about that. And I think she's one of the few people who is, and she has a totally different journey than I did because she started her business when Max was like an infant, basically. Well, she started a different business when he was an infant, but it grew into this business like when he was still very, very, very much a baby. And that's just a completely different experience than I'm having. And I think that that's why it's important to say that. Because yeah, that's just gonna look different and we don't have to make that wrong. Yes. I was laughing so hard. So it's such a mindset shift to move from it being a badge of honor to do it all alone. Exactly. I have so much to say about that. Well, what you focus on expands. So let's put that focus on this plan. She'll be perfect. I know I need to like speak loving words to her and be like, you're going to be great. I'm going to take good care of you. We got to put all the good vibes to her. If I can be a regular mom, I can be a plant mom, right? Hey, Mandy. Okay. So where shall I start? Let's just break it down by me sharing kind of like the amount of support I have, because I think that's really important. So we have, well, in the business, Megan and I have done a whole separate live stream on this, so I can point you to that as well if you want specifics. But in the business, we have Megan, who is my COO, who is incredibly supportive. If you guys have been in this group for any period of time, you know that she is like the wind beneath my wings. She does so much in our business. And really just manages like all the back end operations. And I think we have about 6 contracted team members under her as well. Yeah, so true, Roxana. She said, I recently had my second baby and look at life and business differently now. So cool. You're a better baby mom than a plant mom. Michelle, turns out that is also the case for me. Much stronger baby mom, but I'm telling myself I can do it with this one. We're gonna keep her here. But hey, Nikki. So that's the support in the business. That's a significant amount of support in the business, right? Like I basically focus on coaching and content. So like today, my time was spent doing, like I said, 4 hours of recording for literally plus this. So 5 hours of my day today went to content. That is not the norm at all. And typically it would be flipped, like more of my day would go to coaching, but I pretty much did no coaching today. I just did 5 hours of content. But that's like what my time is going to, coaching and content. Pretty much the rest, my team handles. So like, oh, try a cactus. It's actually a really good idea. Hey, Katrina. Yes, priorities, right? Lisa, very true. The human children are a little more demanding. Oh, but Michelle has a husband that keeps plants alive. See? Something to work on. So that's a freaking significant amount of support so that I can do the thing, you know? And so again, if you're running your business without that much support, it doesn't mean you can't still have a wildly successful business by any means, but it does mean that your day isn't just going to be coaching and content. It's going to be filled with other things, like probably like, you know, figuring out invoicing and onboarding someone and the, 100 things that have to happen to go into putting content out, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, you're probably not going to have 5 hours in a day to focus on content like I had today. And that can be okay. And that just will look different. So what happens, I think, in the online space is I would say something like, oh, I spent 5 hours making content today. And then someone else will be like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? How do I not have 5 hours to dedicate to this? That's why I'm not, creating the success I want, blah, blah, blah. Right? No, I'm just at a different place in business where I have that space because of the support I have. That is not required to grow, but it is what has transpired by having so much support and being able to like use and lean into that. But you're not like doing it wrong if your day doesn't look like 5 hours of content. You're not behind in any way. And quite honestly, if you ever want your day to look like 5 hours of content, you're pretty much going to have to get to the point where you have a team in the support system to be able to do that. Neither is better or wrong. And I didn't require it to get clients initially, but it is where it's at now. But again, like, do you see how that's why it gets fucked up, right? Plans got easier after I learned how to send them good energy, Katrina. Oh my gosh, I really think that's a thing. I'm going to work on that with this because I really feel like that is what I have not done well in the past. I've always been like, oh, I'm probably going to kill this thing. And then I probably kill this thing. You know what I mean? I'm like, nope, our pussy willow, she's going to live on. That's what we're doing. Oh, thank you, Diane. She's such an important combo. Yeah. I think that, again, we just hear, these sound bites from people on like what they got done or what they're doing. And it's just really easy to make that wrong. So that's the support in the business. We have Megan, and then we have about 6 contractors underneath her that help me do all the things so I can do the content and the coaching. In my life, I have a shit ton of support too. So we have a nanny for Bennett who comes to our house every day. She is absolutely incredible. Like, could not even express to you how grateful I am for her. She comes Monday through Thursday for 7 hours each day, and then Friday for 2 hours. So that's a total of like 30 hours that she's in our house per week with Bennett. Now, I will say that sometimes we don't always use all of those 30. Like sometimes I'll be like, hey, come later tomorrow. I'm going to hang out with him in the morning or whatever. But we effectively have her for that amount of time, right? So even if I like wanted to hang out with Bennett while she's here, she'll help with stuff like doing his laundry and things like that. And so it's really, really, really a game changer to be able to have that much support. That's how I can still have a one-on-one focused business that I love and have that support. But I also still feel like I have plenty of time with Bennett because I do all mornings with him. I do afternoon and evenings with him. Like still a beautiful balance there. But like 30 hours a week of childcare is like no joke, you know, especially when it's in our house and we don't have to drive somewhere to pick up, drop off, all the things. So I just really want to say that too, because again, I think it's so easy to kind of think that, you know, we're supposed to do it all and fit it all in. And like, I just couldn't run this business on his nap time kind of thing right now. And there's nothing wrong with having a nap time hustle. But again, like, don't compare yourself to someone that then has like 30 hours of childcare and feel like somehow you're doing it wrong. Right. The same way I love it. No, Monica said, that's where I feel like I'm finally at a place to ask for help. I had to take a break to find myself in my stage of life. But now that I am here and present and happy, I'm at a place where I feel okay asking for help. This is so different than a needy or FOMO energy I had before in business and would hire, but then be a complete bitch at home, if that makes sense. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Like, I think that there is such a mentality that it really is better if we're doing it alone. Like I absolutely hate the term self-made millionaire because I think that it really implies this idea that it is better if we did it ourselves. And I mean, technically I could use that term, like in terms of like, I built this business, it made me a millionaire, whatever. But like, I will never use that term because I think that it like pedestals this idea of doing it ourselves. And like, the reality is nothing about what I've created is self-made. Like absolutely none of it is self-made, right? It's made because I have amazing support around me. And that is like the singular reason that this has happened. Kelsey said, when my client starts in September, I'm looking into cleaning services to help take that workload off my shoulders so I get more time with tiny humans and husbands. So good. Jordan said, yes, that time was my trade-off when I first started my business. Nap times and night times were my work hours. Now that I have money, I can pay for more work hours. Exactly. And like, neither is better or worse necessarily, right? It just is like, what season are you in, what fits your family, and like, what resource do you have, time or money, to kind of invest, right? But again, like, I think we think we're comparing apples to apples, and we're often comparing apples to oranges. And like, that's so important and it's not getting shared. So anyway, like I have the nanny. She's amazing. Everyone say a prayer that she never leaves us. Then we have cleaning, service that comes every other week. I was going to say twice a month, but technically it's every other week. So I guess that's different. And I also have my mom who lives close to us, who is always here to help in a pinch, whether that's with like running an errand that I like just simply couldn't get to, or, you know, helping with the baby or whatever. Yeah, like we just have a lot of support. I also have, which this is something I want to talk about, but hold on, I don't want to lose you guys. Lynn says, I want the support before the income is there. I will talk about that. Let me make a note of that. I have a lot of thoughts on that, Lindsay. Let me just make a note so I don't forget, because you know me and the brain. Elisa said, I feel like there can be so much shame and guilt around, but I should be able to do it all. So normalizing that help is so healing, especially for us women, 100% for women too. Yeah. So different. Michelle said, I also think a lot of times support feels inaccessible if you don't have money, but I know a lot of folks that have traded services or even childcare to make that work too. Yes, so much good things there. The narrative runs so deep. Exactly. So, yeah, so we have the cleaning service. I want to talk about that. Then I have my mom. Oh, and then I have an incredibly supportive husband. Like Kenny has always been very supportive of this business and my work, and is a very involved dad. And I think that's important to say too. Like, again, not that it's better or worse. I just think everyone has a different set of circumstances. And so it is going to look different if that is not the reality for you, whether it's that your partner is not there or they're not as involved. Like, none of that has to be wrong, but I think we just have to use that context for like, oh yeah, well, it makes sense that for Lacey, it's like easy to show up in certain ways because she has all of that support. And so again, I just cannot say that or normalize that enough, that like what you see here in terms of like, here I am, I have $1 million business, whatever, is backed up by, and here are like the 12 people supporting me in my life to help me do that. And if you have that, great. If you don't have that, that's okay. All of our journeys can look different. I think that sometimes people feel weird sharing it because it feels like braggy or whatever. And so I totally get how there's like this kind of fine line. But I think for me, like I would rather it seem braggy, but still level set, how normal it is, versus to let y'all think that like I'm just rocking this and figuring this all out myself, because I'm sure as fuck not. Mandy said adrenal fatigue is kicking my butt, and some days are resting days, and I've seen my support system change and evolve. Totally. And sometimes your support system is just giving yourself a day off even, right? Like I think that's so valuable too. Yes. Okay, good. Everyone's saying thank you to Lindsay for saying that. Yeah, we'll get to that for sure. So Michelle said Ori's job is a lot less flexible than mine, which was a trade-off I've had to come to terms with. Although when COVID was constantly shutting down childcare, that was easier said than done. Right. And so it's not like you don't like have an amazing husband, but the reality of the situation is like his work is just significantly less flexible. And so that's going to look different than somebody who maybe whose husband is not even working. You know, there are a lot of business owners who have like quote unquote retired their husbands or whatever. It looks different for me because Kenny works from home and is rather flexible, but then he travels a decent amount. So when he travels, it's obviously, you know, very different because he's just not here. So we have to have built-in support for that time too. Like luckily our nanny's incredible. Do you notice the theme? I'm like obsessed with our nanny. Our nanny is incredibly flexible. And so she can help out when Kenny, or can help out more when Kenny's traveling. Again, I have my mom too. So, you know, it really, really makes a freaking difference to have that context, right? Like it doesn't mean you need to have that much support necessarily, but you need to have context that if you don't, like there might be trade-offs, like Michelle was saying, and it might look different, and that gets to be okay. And that's not wrong. And like, just be really careful who you're comparing yourself to, because you don't know all the backstory of what's helping them get there. Like I know for sure our business wouldn't have grown as much as it has if I didn't have Megan's support. You know, I'm not delusional enough to believe that didn't change the game. You know what I mean? So, okay, I feel like that's pretty clear. If you guys have any questions about what other support I have there or whatever, feel free to let me know. Happy to be an open book about that. But let's move on to some of the other pieces that I want to talk about here. So to Lindsay's question, I want the support before the income is there. Here's what I have found to be true and interesting, and that I think is just worth saying, is that typically what I have found is that a lot of times, like, you know, where we're investing all of our money is in the business, you know, support, whether that's like coaching or programs or whatever. Like we tend to feel really like normalized and comfortable pouring money into that, but it tends to feel weirder to pour money into like a cleaning service or something like that. But the truth is a cleaning service is probably exponentially cheaper than coaching. And also could be a huge difference maker. So that's something I would really try to encourage clients to think about too, is like, where are you allocating resources? Because a lot of times what we kind of get sucked into in the online space is all the resources we have get poured just into the business. And while there's goodness to that, and obviously I'm a huge fan of coaching and I believe it can really move you forward. That there might be a balance there to be like, well, I have this much to invest right now. Does it make more sense for me to buy myself back like the 3 hours a week of time I would spend cleaning my house and invest that time into the business instead of investing the money? Does that make sense? So yeah, like I have more to say there, but I don't want to miss your comments, but like that's something to think about too, is like, it sometimes feels like support or more support is so far away because it comes at such a cost. And so sometimes looking at like, what are better options for support? Like Michelle mentioned Sarah earlier, who's my best friend. And like one thing Sarah did really early that I thought was so smart is she outsourced her laundry. And it was super cheap. I can't remember what it was, but it was like wildly less expensive than you would anticipate that to be. And I remember her just being like, wait, this, like, it would literally cost me money not to do this kind of thing. But she got herself back, like a couple hours, if not more, of her time per week and not having to do the laundry. And really put that into the business. But like the investment of that was so small, but what she could accomplish in 2 hours in the business was so huge. So sometimes it's looking at like, where are those things in life that we're just kind of telling ourselves we can't have, but actually that are really accessible potentially. Roxana said, what did you start with, home support or business support? What did I start with, home support or business support? Business support in terms of execution. Well, let me say that different. My first big business investment was a one-on-one coach. I think that was hands down an incredible investment. I feel really, really clear about that. Then it was like a VA role. I had a lot of not luck with that for a little bit. And then I found Megan. That was amazing. And then I turned my investments to a lot more home and life support. So it was kind of like coach, VA / obviously she's turned into like OBM COO, and then a lot more of the life. Just said my mom modeled this for me so well. We didn't have a lot, but my mom had a cleaning service come every 2 months because that's what she could do. I love that, Jess. That's so cool too, to like grow up having that normalized and seeing like it, you don't only get this if you have like money pouring out of your ears kind of thing, which I think is sort of the message to a lot of women today, which is like, you shouldn't dare get life support unless you're making like 30 times that, to justify it. But sometimes investing in that life support is what helps you eventually make the money to, invest in more. So I think that oftentimes there are potentially small ways that we can do this that we just don't see because it feels like it has to be so giant, because that's kind of how our space goes. Like when I first invested in VA support, I literally think I had someone working for me for like 6 hours a month, maybe. Like it was nothing, but it really, what I was able to do with 6 extra hours a month in terms of being able to be like front facing, creating content. I mean, think about 6 hours a month. That's almost, what is that, like an hour and a half a week or something like that? So say I was able to do a live stream and write 4 posts or something, like, well, that could change the game in terms of me getting clients just by having that support. Like it really can be small things that give you huge, huge results, like Sarah's laundry, like such a small thing, such a big payoff, and like getting back 2 hours a week. And so I think like starting to think about things like that are really important. I just had this conversation about how we basically should outsource tasks if we make more hourly as a CEO in comparison to the hourly wage of the one that we are outsourcing this task to. Absolutely. Like that's a question I ask my clients a lot, is like, if you outsourced 5 hours of your time and it cost, or 5 hours and it costs X amount, do you think you could make that back times at least 2 in those 5 hours? Like that's a really helpful frame to keep thinking of like, can I buy this time back to a certain extent? But again, it doesn't always have to be through the business. Like, I think that that's something that just doesn't get talked about in our space a lot. Like, this is just an example, but right, like say we didn't have the nanny, no amount of great coaching could make that work for me without that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like I could be like, okay, well, I just need to get a coach to figure out how I can have a one-on-one business, make $1 million and be a stay-at-home mom full time. Like, coaching just isn't going to change my reality that much that all of a sudden that works. Like, that I would have to rework my entire business model and whatever. And like, maybe coaching would support me in that really well, but I don't want to rework my entire business model. I know what I want to do. I just actually need the time and childcare to do it. And so like, it would be such a fallacy for me to think like, oh, okay, well, I'll just hire a coach and then they'll help me figure out like how to make all this work together. Yeah, they can help you figure out how to make it work by making a lot of changes, but like, is that actually what you want? Like, that's something I really encourage my clients to think about a lot too, is like, is this next thing that you want? Like, is it really something that like more information or more, in business support solves, or is it sometimes something that like outside business support solves, life support solves? You know what I mean? Like, so many of my clients, like, since they started working with me, have gotten cleaning services because they just like didn't realize they could, almost, because it's like that badge of honor we all wear, like, look at me building the business and cleaning my house and like keeping it all together, and it's like such a unhelpful thing that we put on women. And yeah, then I was like, well, you could just hire a cleaning service and probably not spend an exorbitant amount of money there, but like, even if it was once a month, like, what difference could that make for you, even in just the mental load that it takes off your plate? And it's kind of crazy what it is, but again, like, that's not where the online industry makes money, so that's just not the conversation we have enough. But it's kind of wild, like, again, whether that's like a cleaning service or a laundry service, or it's like Jess was saying with her mama only doing it every 2 months, like, this stuff can make a big difference, right? Oh my gosh, Jordan, you just made my day. You're looking up cleaning services right now. That's amazing. Jess said, yes, that's when people start searching for a secret when there's not one. Exactly. It's like, can the secret be like for a coach to tell me like how to figure this out, instead of like, wait, the secret is just like get the support, right? Steph said, this is so applicable to entrepreneurs, even who aren't taking care of young ones. As a digital nomad, I outsource my travel logistics so I can spend more intentional time on my business and enjoying the country I'm in. I could do it myself, but it's such a time suck that doesn't serve me. That is so perfect. So perfect. Like, it can be literally anything, but we so often forget what it can, like, all the options, right? Yeah. Monica said she can't wait to hire someone to help with her meals. Like, that's such a great example too. And like, one of my clients was just telling me that she did that, and she was like shocked at how much less it cost than she thought it would. I think in the online space, we're just so used to support coming at such a premium. We assume that it always does. Lindsay used to clean her whole house before her cleaning service would arrive. Okay. Well, fair, but that defeats the purpose, but I hear you. Michelle said, I recently found the best cleaning gal. She arrives on time. My mom even complimenting her cleaning, which is like the highest compliment. She comes once a month or every other month, and some days she will come every 2 weeks. Yes, so good. I advertised a cleaning role a few days ago. Time is a big thing for me right now. Yes, time. So true. Cool. What a cool idea, Kelsey. It took me a few times to be able to just sit there while they cleaned. It's a great exercise in learning to receive, isn't it though? Yes. All of this is, right? Like, that's a whole other thing. Like, as women, we're just so conditioned to not receive. And so being able to receive that much support is certainly mindset work, which that is where great coaching can come into play and be so important. But great coaching still can't fix it if you simply just it doesn't fit. You know what I mean? Like, it can, because it can help you rework your business model and figure out what fits into what time you have now. Like, there's obviously a huge piece of it, but at the end of the day, like, if your only problem is execution, like coaching can't really change that. I've definitely had discovery calls with people back when I was still doing discovery calls, where when we talked through things, at the end of the day, I was like, I think you should hire an OBM or a VA. Don't hire me, because they were coming to me because they, were trying to figure out basically how to do all the things. And we're kind of like, cool, I'm going to get coaching and figure out what the secret is to doing all the things. And I was kind of like, well, just don't do all the things and hire support. Like, hire that before you're going to hire me, Michelle said there's a local biz here that does pre-made meals that you can just pop in the microwave or oven. It's definitely not a personal chef. It has been such a game changer, and it's not super different from the cost of eating out, but so much quicker and healthier. Right. Like, it's amazing what is available to us. We just don't always explore it because we feel like we shouldn't, but I think that's another great example of like, could this be really, really, really available to you? And we just feel like it's not. And again, this is certainly, I want to be clear, I'm not like trying to hate on coaching, obviously, big fan over here. But I do think that sometimes in our space, we think that coaching is the solution to literally everything. And sometimes it's just not. Coaching would not be the solution to not having childcare. Coaching would not be the solution to like not having the time to like do laundry or whatever that is, right? So I think that that's just really important to acknowledge. Like Elsie said, please tell me you live in Cypress, Texas, because I totally sign up for that. Ooh, Jess with the factor meals. She said, guys, factor meals are the most delicious microwave meals. Hit me up for a code. Okay, Jess, send that to me because I will definitely look at that. But yeah, like there is just so many options for us. And, I think that figuring out like what is that one little thing that can move the needle forward, like even if you did one of these things, like say you use Jess's code and you get these meals and you save 30 minutes every night, and say over the course of a week, you save what, 3 hours of time or something like that. 3 hours of time a week you could reinvest into the business is no joke. It does not always have to be money. Obviously you're investing in the meals to a certain extent, but like what you're really doing is kind of buying back your time. And so it can be that too. And oh, you're heavy even likes them. Yeah. So good. So I really think that context is super important. Like what is like one small thing you could think about outsourcing this week? Like, is it one small thing in your business? Like, are you buying a shit ton of programs when really you should be investing in an OBM or a VA? Like, these are really important questions because every program will promise to solve everything for you. And the reality is like that probably isn't the case. It probably can't solve some of these support issues, but if you solve the support issues, then you might really be able to put all the other programs that you bought to good use because you'd actually be able to do it. Like the number one reason like we aren't getting the results we want in a program is because we can't really put it to use. And so looking at like what that gap is, my take a lot of the time, as you guys know, because I've been talking about it a lot recently, is a lot of times it's mindset. But at the end of the day, if you're like, it's not mindset for me, like my mindset's good, I just physically cannot do it right now, I do not have the time. Great. You need a different solution. And like, we need to be real about that, right? Kelsey said, I have a mobile dog groomer coming to our house now. It's more expensive, but such a time saver. Like so many things. This is even such a silly thing, but like Kenny and I have to get some paperwork notarized. And like, he found a mobile notary because I was all trying to figure out like, when were we both going to have time where we like were working and had childcare and the notary was available and open and he was like, oh, I just got a mobile one to come. I'm like, yes, right? Of course it's a little more expensive. Of course it's fucking worth it. Like these are the little things that make such a difference. Michelle said, fun fact about support. My neighbors started hiring support because they saw how many people are coming in and out of our house. Oh my God, I remember that. That's so funny. That's hysterical, but it's so good that you get to be that. That like beacon of light to be like, this is a thing we can do. So that's really just the truth that I wanted to share today is like, this is a thing we can do. Like there are ways to make these things work for us. And sometimes, yeah, that means investing in less coaching or less programs while you invest in support in other ways. And I just really want to make sure we're not making that wrong. Because yeah, like let's just use this as an example, but say like a program's, I'm gonna hold on, I like mathing things. Say in a program's like $3,000, right? Um, and say it's 200 to have someone clean your house. That's 15 times of someone cleaning your house. So if you had them come once a month, that's over a year of someone cleaning your house. If you had them come multiple times a month, that's, I don't know, guys, but it was 9 months or something. I don't know, but still, it's a lot. And so again, I'm not like advocating don't ever buy a program or whatever. By all means, do that too. But just know that like there is this balance here where we don't want it so that every resource imaginable is going into the business, when sometimes the support outside of the business as a starting point is less expensive. No shit, Jess. Okay. I'm like making a note of that because I have never written that off and I've never even thought about that. It has never even occurred to me. You are a genius. Elisa said normalizing support for the whole neighborhood. Exactly. If you work from home, cleaning is, oh, I already read that. That's fucking crazy. Michelle says, love this comparison. It's about prioritizing what's most serving us in each season and being willing to shift and change. Just because we've been doing something doesn't mean we have to keep doing it. Yes. Jess is sending me a factor code and a note from her accountant. Best day. Thank you, Jess. You're saving my day today in all the ways. Kelsey, she said that if you work from home, your cleaning service is 100% write-off, which freaking nuts. Did not know that. And that's also like money savings too. So regardless, like what Michelle is saying is kind of the point I want to make, where there's different seasons. Like, does that $2,000 program sometimes meet the exact needs you have in that season? 100%. That's why it's there. Like, there's so much goodness in this space and in the teachings and trainings that are out there. And if that's not actually solving the right problem, which is what I always talk about, then it's still not a good use of that $2,000, no matter how much the online space wants to convince you otherwise. Everyone is losing their shit over this. And Michelle's pressuring you to tell her what you did this morning. Jess, you are a genius. You just like changed all of our lives. But the point is there is different seasons and you want to solve the right problem in the season that you're in. Like I was saying, this season that I'm in, the right problem to solve is to invest way more in like our nanny than like doubling down on throwing that money back into the business, but not having like consistent childcare. Or like, for example, like I was saying, you know, we have our nanny for like those 7 hours and we pay her for more than that. And we cancel her sometimes, but like we're paying to know that that's there. And that to me is like the best investment that we could like possibly make. In this season right now, like that will shift and change and, you know, vary over time, but like it's so valuable to see that as the best investment for right now and not feeling like every spare ounce of money gets poured back into the business. It really gets poured into me because I am the business. Like I am the business's most valuable asset, right? That's like a really important thing to think about yourself. You are your business's most valuable asset. And so what can you do to feel fully supported, right? So funny. Everybody's losing their shit. Also, Kelsey wants your accountant, Jess. So good. Hi, Jessica. It's good to see you. Okay, everybody DM Jess. She's at Jess Jordana on Instagram. And she will tell you about her accountant and give you her Factor Meals code. And probably Michelle will get her to tell her what she was recording. But so important that we just have these conversations. So I want you to like ask yourself that question, like, are you paying for the right support in the right season of your life, right? Like, is coaching the best support you could get in this season of your life? For many of us, that answer is yes. Or is like, you know, housekeeping support the best support you could get in this season? Like, I know sometimes the answer is like all of the above, but if we can like shift and prioritize and figure out which one is, like, that can really be a game changer. OMG, did not mean to compromise this live. No, Jess, this is perfect. This is like exactly why we do these. And also, you probably just saved us all a shit ton of money in tax write-offs. So thank you for being you. Oh, Michelle, you can't. Jess is out for you now. If you guys don't know, Jess has built basically her entire brand on iced coffee. So the fact that Michelle is drinking hot coffee in 80-degree weather is just a no for Jess. It's just a strong no. So funny. Okay, so you can write off cleaning. Thank you, Jess, for giving us all this gift. But that might be it for you, or you might again do the laundry thing or whatever it is. But like there are so many options, and you, as the most important asset in your business, get to feel supported in lots of areas. And you investing in something outside of business that supports you is still a business investment. And I think we really have to think about it like that. So whatever it is, if you invest in those factor meals or whatever, like you have to see that as a business investment too. Hi, Manisha. So good to see you. Oh, I love Mondays from 1 to 2 too, Michelle. Thank you guys for being here. You really make my Mondays. But yeah, we have to see that shit as a business investment, like you getting your laundry done or whatever. And please know that almost everyone you look up to has a shit ton of support behind the scenes, whether they're talking about it or not. And so being really careful not to compare apples to apples, and also knowing that it's okay if like, maybe you're watching this and you're like, I don't have any support right now. Then like, I'm not even saying you have to go get some, but I'm saying you have to give yourself a fucking break. Like, don't compare yourself then to someone who has, an ass load of support and feel like you're doing something wrong if you haven't grown as fast as they've grown or whatever. And I know that's sort of like a hard pill to swallow to a certain extent, because obviously we want to know that any of us can do anything and create any results. And I believe that is 1,000% true. But the pressure of feeling like we should be performing like we have full-time help when we don't is so fucked. And that's like, I'm not even going to get into this, but like, hello, that is the patriarchy telling women that they should do it all and do it all with a smile on their face and like expect the world of themselves and, never need anyone. Like, no. So please give yourself grace no matter what piece of the scale you're on. If you're on the far end of the scale, well, you have a lot of support. Please give yourself to not feel shameful or guilty about that, because that is what we require at certain stages of life, is a lot of support. Or if you're on the opposite end where you don't have that support, same. Please do not let yourself feel bad or ashamed that you are not like skyrocketing as fast as humanly possible when you're doing like the nap time hustle for a little while, right? Yes, Elisa, getting your nails done is investing in your business. It 100% is. Michelle said, oh, such a good journal prompt. What are all the ways I have support right now, and where do I want more support? Very good, Michelle. I love that. Hey, Felicia. Chances are we all find a way to be 1% more supported in our bit. Can all find a way to be 1% more supported in our life and bits. Exactly. I guarantee you there's a small way that you could lean into that right now. And the way you might lean into that is, again, just being like, hey, let me normalize that. Like, I don't have near as much support as Lacey's saying she has. And so I get to take the pressure off myself to make it look like I do, I feel like there's gotten to be this thing in the online space that just pisses me off, where now it's not even just about how much money you make, but it's about how effortless you can make that look. And like, I'm about ease and everything, don't get me wrong, but the work has to get done. Cool. So if we're trying to pretend that like we're running businesses and the work doesn't get done, that's just bullshit. Like, it really, this is getting so pedestaled in our space that it's like, not just how much you make, but how completely effortless you can make it look. Well, if the work still has to get done, then the way you're making it look effortless is you're getting a shit ton of support. But it gets marketed like you've just found this way to magically not have to ever do any work. And I don't even just mean work in business. I mean, like, clean your home or take care of your child or whatever that is, right? So let's be real here. business can be amazing. And like, yes, we can put it on a pedestal to like build amazing businesses that feel good to us and support our life. But the path to that is typically support. It's not magically finding this way where these things just don't have to happen because we're like living on a different planet or something. Like in this physical manifestation of reality, shit has to happen. And so like in my business, a lot of shit has to happen. It just doesn't always have to be me. Or in my life, a lot of shit has to happen. It just doesn't always have to be me. Or if it does have to be me, then I have to give myself grace that all of that is not necessarily going to happen as perfectly or as fast as I want it to. Right. And the idea that it would be better if I didn't have to do any of that, or if someone didn't have to do any of that, and that I should be looking to find a way to make it like, I don't know, it's just like we make it look perfect. Like it's not just how much it happens, but it's how easy I can make the process seem. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense, but I think that like, again, that's a thing that gets done to women too. And that's why we feel like we just have to do it all ourselves. Cause it's like, well, I can't ask for help because then I'm saying it's not easy or effortless for me kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Yep, it's not effortless. So true. This is so frustrating. It's also hard to find a way to convey the both and no, it doesn't have to be brutally painful. And it's not just bubble bath. It's supremely uncomfortable being an entrepreneur, 100%. Ooh, Amanda's account says that we can write off manicures before brand photo shoots, but not for Zoom calls. They talk with my hands a lot. I love that Amanda has specifically made sure to ask for that guidance. That's so good. But you guys, we can write off manicures before brand shoots and cleaning. Come on. But I so agree with what Felicia said, the both and here, right? Of like, yeah, there is a way to make things more useful. One of the ways is to just give yourself grace. And so that's what we need to talk about. One of the ways is to get support. And so that's what we need to talk about. But the idea that it doesn't look like having to do those things, to give ourselves grace, to let it be messy, to get support, that's kind of like the sticking point for me, where I think it gets really difficult for a lot of us women, you know? Michelle says, I love having support. It's the best and look forward to expanding that even more. And bonus points when my support supports other small women businesses. Yes, yes, so good. Okay, so that is my thing for today. So I really just wanted to share. I have a lot of support, and that's why I'm doing this. And I want to keep talking about this because I am never going to make it seem like I'm just crushing it all of my own, because that is the furthest thing from the truth. The reason that we've created this business, the reason that I've been able to come back and work in the business that I love is significantly and primarily because of the support I have. And so please do not compare yourself to that in any way. And please know that you get to have whatever support could look like for you in your life and business, and that sometimes it can be a lot more accessible than we think it can, or at the very least we can access the part of us that says, you know what, I need to stop giving myself a hard time because that's bullshit, right? So hopefully that helps. Michelle says, another amazing combo. You've been on fire these live topics. Oh, good. Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate that. I've been feeling kind of fiery lately, so I very much appreciate that reflection. Thank you, Roxana. Alicia, Kelsey, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for spending your time with me this week. I am off to do something else for literally. So I hope that you guys have a beautiful week, and I can't wait to share that with y'all soon. All right, bye guys.